Okay, well, I think we'll get started. I think we have pretty much everyone, so welcome. Today, Cathy and I will talk about new quizzes on Canvas. So the really important thing I want to mention is that the new quizzes right now is in a beta option, and we don't know when Canvas is going to turn it on. If you are using quizzes in Canvas, by default, you will see the old quizzes. If you want, to use new quizzes, you will actually have to turn it on in the settings for each of your course, and we'll show you how to do it. I'll show you how to do it. So the new quizzes is an assessment engine that integrates within Canvas as an LTL tool, and that replaces the classic quizzes functionality currently existing in Canvas. So like I said, this is a new Canvas feature, and it's still in beta. And then we'll show you how to turn it on. Let me just share my screen. Okay, come back to my assignment. I'll show you how to turn on new quizzes in Canvas. Okay, let me just go to Google Chrome. So let's say I am in my training course, and I believe that was in settings, Cathy, right?
Correct. Yep.
So in each of your course, on the left navigation bar, you will see settings. Only you or an instructor will see that option. So I'll go to settings, and I'll go to feature options, and you will see the second one from the top says new quizzes. And by default, this will be turned off. So you will see a little X that's black. If you want to turn it on, it's as simple as moving the slider, moving slider to black. My hope is that Canvas is not gonna choose to turn on new quizzes mid semester. I don't think they will. They're probably testing it out. So that's why it's still, in beta option. There are some new options and, possibilities that, have not been, tried before. But if you are a really savvy user of, quizzes, or you rely on quizzes a lot, may not be a bad idea, to turn it on, see what's possible. Also, if you import the content from the previous course and you turned on new quizzes, one thing Cathy and I will notice that it will duplicate your quizzes. So you have the old quizzes and new quizzes, if I'm right, Cathy. So maybe you will need to, delete the old one and use new one as a, as a something that you would assess students with. So those are the new quizzes. So what we're going to probably do for the rest of the day, we kind of assume you are familiar with, traditional quizzes in Canvas. So Cathy will show you a few options with the quizzes. We'll go over some, quiz question types, like categorization essay. There's a file upload, there's actually formula question too. Now there's like a hotspot, there's matching and multiple answers and things like that. Any questions before we move on? Like I said, this is it's in beta option, and you will need to turn it on if you feel comfortable turning it on. All right.
I have a quick question.
Yes.
So I use the regular quizzes quite a bit, and I use a lot of the different features because we need some with numbers and all that kind of stuff. What's the difference between the new quizzes and the old sort of classic quizzes, like in terms of functionality? Like what does the new really mean?
One suggestion I will have, Annette, for you, and this is maybe more personal one. because I know chemistry department has a really big, elaborate quizzes, and I would hate for it to break on you mid-semester. So
yes, I have it turned off right now.
So I almost wonder if that's something that, you know, for your department, because students in your department take quizzes pretty much daily, if I remember. So I think we'll be more comfortable testing that over the summer a little bit, making sure everything works, you know, or fix those problems. We can, you know, work with Canvas. But yes, to answer your question, yeah, we'll cover, you know, the layout is a little bit different. You have more options, and Cathy will cover that in her section. Great question.
Thank you.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and go to Canvas. So I already have this on, so I have it on in my course. So when I go to quizzes on the left to add a new quiz, it gives me the option. So I'm going to go plus quiz, and it asks me if I want to use classic or new. So once I turn that on, I can choose what type. So if I wanted to use a classic, for now it's still available, but I'm going to choose new quizzes and submit. And you'll notice it looks really quite a bit different. So not at this point yet, but I'm going to put in my quiz name. And I'm going to just leave the rest of this alone, because what it's doing this first time I add it, it's connecting to the new quiz LTI. So I can fill in the rest of the settings once I save this. So I'm going to save it. And now it's loading it in the new quiz look. So basically, I'm just going to put a name in there and save it. And now it's loading the new quiz. So this is what new quizzes looks like. You have tabs along the top. So as I said, it looks really different. Here's the title that I put in, but over to the right, I can edit. So if I wanted to change that title, right underneath it are instructions. So if I wanted to add instructions, I click to add the instructions. So I've added some simple instructions in, and I'm going to say done. Along the top now, I'm on build. So this is where I'm going to build my questions, but I'm going to show you the other settings, reports, and moderate before I actually go into adding the different question types. So the settings is the next tab. By default, all of these settings are off, and I think it looks a little bit cleaner in this view, because when it was in the main where the title and questions were, I just like this view a lot better. So if I wanted to shuffle my answers, I select it. If I want a time limit, I select it and choose how many I can type it into. If I wanted 30 minutes. So I go through, they have multiple attempts, allow calculator. I choose all of those settings. You also have a reports tab, and I know that you could run some reports in the old quizzes, but this will show you a quiz and item analysis and an outcome. And I can't really show that yet because no one's taken the quiz, but you can play around with that to see the different quiz reports. And then the moderate. So this is where if you need to open a quiz back up, so let's say a student was sick the day that they took the quiz and it closed, you could come in here and open it just for that one student. Or let's say a student has extra time. So you can either do it two ways. Now that's one of the new things in quizzes and new quizzes. If I go to moderate, I can say this person has give additional time, 15 extra minutes. Or if they have additional attempts that they can take. So Josh now would have 15 extra minutes. It shows that here. And then he would be given 15 extra minutes to do that. If I click the edit icon. Now, when I click that edit icon, so the first part that I did under moderate gives Josh 15 extra minutes just for this quiz. If I want to give him additional time for all quizzes in this course, I do it by clicking on that pencil instead. So that's new. I can say he gets additional time for every quiz that he takes within this course. And it shows you that to all course assessments for the student. It'll show you that note so you know it's giving them extra time for all quizzes. If I want it just for this quiz, I choose moderate. So now I'm going to go back to my build tab, because under the build tab is where I actually start adding the questions. You'll notice at the top my item banks. So when I click that, I can create a question bank right from here, which is a lot easier and quicker. In the old quizzes, you had to actually go into questions, go to the bottom. It was a few steps in, where here I can create a question bank right from within my quiz. And then those questions would be available for me to use. If I have outcomes that I set up, I can link to those outcomes right from here. Again, it's a lot quicker than before, where I had to go to the bottom of the quiz, search for outcomes. But here I could create my outcomes and add them. Oops, back to my build. So now I want to actually take that back off because I don't want to view, I don't have outcomes set up for it. To add a question, it's this plus at the bottom, right under my instructions. Okay, so when I click the plus, it shows me all the different types of questions. And there are some new ones here. I believe the new ones are categorization, ordering, hotspot, and then there's a stimulus. And we'll go through, you know, each of these and how they work. But for, I'll send everybody, there's a listing of each of these quiz question types, and we'll put it on the Canvas page actually, where you can see each of these types and how they work. So the categorization one, it categorizes questions, requires students to place answers in the correct categories while ignoring distractors that you put in, so you can add distractors. When categorization questions are graded, students must categorize all items correctly in order to earn the full points. So they have to do all of them right. And there's not an option to assign partial credit for this type. So there will be with other question types where you can add in partial credit. So then if I wanted to add a categorization, I choose it, and then it asks me for my title, all my categories, and so forth. And I would begin setting all of that up. The point value is at the bottom. It used to be listed at the top. So I assign however many points this question is worth. To the right of it are all my student feedback options, just like before. So if I want to give feedback for correct or incorrect answers. The next question type, file upload, that hasn't changed. The same type of thing. If you wanted them to upload a file, you would add the file upload. But it does give you a few options. If I go to the plus, I can add a question stem. I can delete this or edit. I can also show a calculator, limit the file number. So if I only want them to upload one, I want to make sure and limit that. And then I can also restrict file types. Again, so if I want them just to upload a Word document or PDF, I want to make sure and list that file type. I'm going to click cancel. Formulas. So they did have the formula type question before. They need to type in the correct numerical answer. So just like before, if I wanted to do a formula, same type of thing. I have the question, variables, minimum, max. I add it all in. And again, I know I'm going through this kind of quick, but we'll put on our website the listing of these and how each question type works. The matching. So here I have to show the question and what the answer is. And then they would have to match those up. I can add distractors in. multiple choice, and I'm going to just add one of these so you can see how it works. Yeah. Type in my answers. So pretty much like before, wherever I have it chosen, the radio button to the left, that shows me the correct answer. Here's where you could vary points by answer. So before you were strict, it was restricted to each one was with however many points that you assigned. But this one will actually let you now vary the points by answer. So I can say if they choose the right one, they say fall, maybe I'll give them half a point, you know, or 2 points. So here's where in one of the question types where you can vary the score that they receive. I can always edit it, delete it, move it around with the dots if I wanted to move this up or down. So I'm going to add another question. The ordering type question, I actually have to look. This is a new one as well. So the ordering question, students are required to place answers in a specific order. You can add top and bottom labels to the list to help students know in which order they should place their responses. When ordering questions are graded, students must order all items correctly in order to earn full points. So again, this you don't have the option to vary the points for an ordering question. The question title, that's always for your purposes to show you what the name is, and then the actual question or instructions goes in the box below. And then here, notice where they said you could add a top label, answers, bottom label. Another new one, let's see, which is our next one. Essay, like before, I can add an essay question. The one thing with essay questions, I need to grade those manually. So they type in their answer and I go to grade to speed grader, and that's where I would grade the essay questions. Fill in the blank. So this is the same as before. I'm seeing if it has any updates. I don't believe it does. So just like before, if I wanted them to fill in the blank, I put my question. And then I do the fill in the blank piece. The hotspot, that is a new one. So what that is, that deals with images. So hotspot questions allow you to upload images and have students identify specific areas in that image. It looks like it supports almost every image type, BMP, GIF, JPEG, and PNG files. But this is a new one that you can use, and I think a lot of people have been asking about, can we have images and they have to click on it in order to identify something? So now that's the new hotspot question. And notice I can add a question above or below the first one that I've added, so you can move them around and add them wherever you need to. Multiple answers, so if they can choose more than one answer. And this one I believe is new as well. And then this gives, they have to either have an exact match or you can do the partial credit with the penalty. And then notice I can add these questions. I notice at the bottom of each of these to an item bank. So as I'm creating them, I can add them directly to an item bank if I have some created already or create one. Numeric. So if I needed them to do numeric, required answer, I can show the calculator, I can put in possible answers. And the true and false. So again, I put in my question title. And true or false, whichever is the correct answer, I need to choose. Again, my points. And I have my true and false question. And then the last one is stimulus, and that's new as well. So what the stimulus does, gives students a piece of content with associated questions. So you could give them content. So like if I have a URL, maybe to a reading or a PDF, or if I wanted to copy and paste the content or put a video in here, and then I can add that stimulus, and then they would have questions. I could add the questions that go with that stimulus. So that's new, but I could add it right with that. I'll discard it. So now I have all of my questions here. I can preview it like before. So if I want to see how it's going to look at the very top, I have a preview. So now it's showing me how it would look for the student. I choose my answers. If I would have put feedback in here, it would be showing them. And then I submit. And then it's telling me I cannot change my answers because I only allowed one submission. And then here it's showing me the feedback of how I did. Over on the left, my toolbar, if I click to expand that, that's showing me everything I have in my quiz. So kind of like a bookmark in a PDF. And I could go to the questions right from here or the title instructions and change it from there. Or again, to the right of each of these items, I have an edit, delete, or move around. Click return, just brings me back to my main page. And then there's my new quiz. Again, when I click on it, it brings me right into that quiz. It's not published by default, so then I would need to go in and publish that quiz so that it's available to students. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And what questions do people have? I know that was a little quick, but the different question types, again, I'll post those on our Canvas page. And I would think the best thing to do is kind of play around with those new question types or how the quiz works, because you can turn it on in your course, but still choose the classic quiz instead of the new quiz type.
So one tip I will give, I don't think that's changed whether it's a new quiz or not, is the default option is, so if I'm taking a quiz, I will see the correct answer on the quiz. So what I will do, I'll take a picture of my phone, send it to all my buddies so they can get a better grade. So that didn't change. So the default setting is I take the quiz, it gives me correct answer. And if I do not have a correct answer, it actually will highlight for me the right answer. Maybe that is what you prefer. That's perfectly fine. You know, maybe that's a great option for a test quiz. It's probably a good idea to turn off that setting. It's whether it's a classic quiz or the new quiz, that setting by default is turned on. Then again, it's really completely up to you. But we did have some questions about during our training how how to hide the answers. So that didn't change whether it's a new quiz or old quiz.
Adam, where do you turn that off?
Let me just open the great question. Let me just share my where is my Google Chrome? Right here. So when you go to quizzes, right here, and then so I'm just going to minimize my window view. And when I select my quiz, and I believe it's, I'll just say quiz for the day, or I'll click, actually, sorry, I should go to edit, 3 dots, and I can actually edit my quiz. And I can choose, whether it's an assignment, whether I want to count it towards the final grade. Okay.
I think it's in the build piece, but you weren't seeing that. I wonder, are you a student in this quiz? Go back to quizzes.
Yeah.
And click on the name of the quiz for iTech Day.
Yeah.
And then it should be a tab. It's like, let me share my screen.
Yeah, let me stop sharing.
Yeah,
I think I'm a student on that account too.
Yeah, I think you are too. So let me share it and show you. Okay, so I'm in the quiz, and when you first go click on the name of the quiz, it brings you into build. But if I go to settings and I scroll down, it's at the very bottom here, restrict student view results. I have to actually check mark that. So like Adam said, that's turned on by default. So I need to check mark that if I don't want them to see it. And if I want them to see points awarded, points possible, show items in question, I would check mark any of these that I want them to see. But if I leave them unchecked, they won't see that. So I just need to check mark this. If I don't want them to see anything, if I want them to see the points possible, I can add that in. Or if I want to show them the items and questions, I can show just the feedback, show them the student response. But again, by default, that's on. So it would show them, like you've seen when I went into preview and I took it, it showed me my score. If I want that off, I have to select it.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest tip with the quizzes, whether it's classic or new, the default answers will show.
Yeah, yeah, that didn't change, unfortunately. What other questions? Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, I was gonna say, so with the new questions, can we import the questions and question banks from the old quizzes, or do we have to remake those?
No, you can import those. I believe we did that with someone, right, Adam? And then once you import it, you have to choose to make that a new quiz. I think it's like up at the top, you click the dots and you can choose to make it the new quiz instead of the classic quiz. Yep, so you can import quizzes and just make them new quiz.
Kathy?
Yeah. Yep.
Is there a setting I can use, let's say just on the old quizzes, so that as I'm grading the quiz, students do not see if I've graded one question, let's say for everyone, and what I think is happening is the students are seeing a new, they're seeing a grade for that quiz. Well, I'm just gradually going through it, and that's not their final grade, and they're panicking that they have this low grade. And even though I've told them don't pay any attention to that, I still have all these reactions. Is there some way so that they don't see that partial grading?
Yep, there is. So it's within grades, and I'm going to go back here because I don't think I published this quiz, so I'm not seeing it in my speed grader. So I have that quiz published. If I go to grades, I can hide that while I'm grading it and adding notes in, or let's say I have to grade some essay questions. I can hide that until I want them to see it. So here's the quiz for iTech Day. When I go to this, so let's say I have to go and enter some speed grader, I have to add some essay questions. So I can do a couple ways. Once they take the quiz and they have a score here, so this should automatically, once they take the quiz, populate. Once there's a score in here, then I can go here and hide it. It doesn't actually release that score or show that to them. Or if I have it turned on for my whole grade book, so at the very top here, when I go to my grade posting policy, oops, went away. If I have manually post grades and update, it automatically hides that quiz. And I would suggest turning that on for the whole grade book. So for any assignment, any quiz, any discussion, it hides those grades until you post them. So it would automatically be hidden and I wouldn't have to go in and hide it. The other way that you can do it, if you haven't hidden them, if I go to speed grader, so I need to, let's say, correct an essay question for this quiz, I can hide it at the top. This I would not be struck through, and I could click on it to hide it from here.
Okay, but on the grade book itself, and I don't actually use the grade book. I don't use it. So it would be best for me to go to the grade book and I go to that little gear.
Yep.
And click on
Grade posting policy. Yep.
And then
choose the manually post grades and update. And that hides everything automatically.
So then they don't, they will not, even like with a quiz, if it's, let's say, multiple choice and essay, and the quiz is, when they're done, in my experience before, it always showed them how many multiple choice questions they got right as soon as they submitted the quiz. But if I did that, they wouldn't see that?
Well, they wouldn't see that, but the other thing to note is what Adam just showed you, to make sure that in the quiz you have that setting turned off. It's different areas. So I'm going to just go in here and add a classic quiz. So this is the one that you're used to seeing, and I'll show you where that is in both of these. So in this regular quiz, if you don't want them to see any feedback at all while they've, like when they hit submit, just make sure you have this totally unchecked. Let students see their quiz responses. And then you also have it hidden in the grade book, but I just turn that off by default just to be sure.
Okay, but then eventually, this is what's always so confusing to me. Eventually, I want them to see what the quiz, what they got on it.
Right. So then you would go to the grade book and release those grades. So see, mine are all closed. The eyes are closed. Let me scroll way over. Let's say these are all graded for this quiz. When I want them to see the score, I just go to these three dots at the top and I post the grades. And that'll automatically release the grades to them. And it asks me, do I want everyone graded by section? And I'm going to post that. So now the student would receive an email notification that the grade for the quiz is available, and they can click into grades and see that grade.
What about the actual quiz itself to see which ones they got right and wrong?
That's where you turn that feedback piece on. So if you wanted them to see what's right and what's wrong, I'm going to go back to my quizzes. So here's the classic quiz. And when I click into it, if I want them to see what's right and what's wrong, I could come in here now and edit it. And I could say, let the students see their quiz responses. And I could even set the date. So I could say, leave it open just today. They can go in and click on it and see what they've received. And then once you unhide that eye, it releases their score and they can go in and see what they've gotten right and wrong. In the new quizzes piece, it's just in a little bit different area. So I'm in a classic one. If I go to the new quiz, it's in this settings piece. The hiding is the same for this. I would do the hiding in the grade book, the hide, close the eye. But then if I want them to see the feedback, like how they did, what they got right and wrong, I would come in here and turn that back off. And then once I unhide that quiz, they'll receive that notification just like before, and they'll be able to see what they got right and what they got wrong within that quiz.
Okay.
Other questions?
Could you just say again, the one that was called the hotspot,
Mm-hmm.
that you put an image in there, and then what can you do with that image?
So what you can do is you upload images and the students identify a specific area in the image. Like, let's say I upload an image of a flower and I say, can you identify where the stem is or where's the petal? They have to go and click on that and click on the right place, and then it's right or wrong because you identify, where they have to click to get that right.
Okay.
Yep, good question.
Cathy, this is Susan. I wasn't able to be here for the first 15 minutes. Is this recorded and then will be posted?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
I actually found great question. Let me just share my screen quickly. So this is just a little info on Canvas, about hotspot, right? So I'll go hotspot and upload a photo and ask them to locate Thomas Jefferson in the image below, right? You need to actually draw on the image, correct answer. So in this case, the section, right? Or you can use a polygon tool if you want. Then click done and have some other options too. But yeah, that's basically how image map works. Pretty nice.
Yeah, although
think-
if something had a real irregular shape, maybe it would be hard to identify exactly all the places they could.
Well, then you would use a polygon tool. So you don't draw the bugs, but you just basically use a drawing tool so you can make any shape you want. Yeah, they give you that option too, which is nice.
Mhm.
There's
Yeah,
still no way for them to actually draw on the quiz though, right? Like if you want them to make a diagram.
Great
No.
question, Carol.
I don't
think
believe
so.
so. Mm-mm. They would have to
Okay.
yeah.
Upload something, yeah.
Upload it. Yeah.
Mhm.
That's what I do when just checking. But yeah, no, this
Oh,
hotspot
they have
is
to like
awesome for our history.
draw like on an image of artwork, right? And then specify certain
No,
areas,
like
right?
where they would have to, I would say, give me a diagram of a northern Hindu temple and a southern Hindu temple and label the 4 main parts.
Oh, okay. No, I didn't think so.
Okay,
No.
yep. Just thought I would check that I was not, misunderstanding. But I love
Yep.
the hotspot. That's
Yep.
great.
And the Canvas help is a really good tool, like where Adam is. You can go into Canvas and go to their guides, which are on the left side, and you can type in Canvas new quizzes, and it'll give you an example of every single quiz type and how they work. So that's a really good resource too to use.
Yeah, that's it. That's a good resource. To follow up with one of your question, Carol, they can you can draw. There's a draw feature, and whether it's in Microsoft Office, I don't know about Google Docs, but I know Microsoft Office, PowerPoint, and the tool has actually draw option. I don't know if I'm just gonna see if I can create a new document and share it. So let me just come back quickly to Zoom. So so students could use a whiteboard in Zoom, or or there's a draw feature. So I click draw and I can, either, just basically draw with my mouse or, a tablet pen if I have it. Those tablets, students, we have some tablets that can be checked out from the library. Drawing on a computer screen can be tricky. That's where those, Wacom tablets that we have, they have a little stylus pen. Looks like, this, it's just basically like a big trackpad surface. The ones we have in the library are a little bit smaller. So that is something, if you're looking for it, to be done digitally, another option is you could, they can just draw it, take the picture and upload that as a photograph in, in a speed grader. And then maybe in a speed grader, there are some, tools we covered in the previous training, like annotations and drawing and things like that. You could do it that way too. But I know if that's as a quick question, unless you upload the image and you need to ask students to identify parts of the shape maybe. But that's not exactly how you're doing it. Did that help, Carol?
Yeah, I've been experimenting with one of the tablets from the library, and I find it really hard, to draw in that way. So what I've just done is ask them to draw on a piece of paper, take a picture and upload it, because
Yep.
I just think it's very hard to draw those.
Yeah, it is. The one piece of simple old school technology that has proven really, really helpful for a lot of people are document cameras. It's kind of like old school overhead projector, except it's digital. Pretty much, I think, I'm gonna say everyone, but most of the classrooms are equipped. Unfortunately, the way they are set up is they bypass the Zoom, so they will just project directly on the screen, which means you won't be able to share that screen. But what we were able to do is our AV classroom support team, if we let us know that you want to use that document camera in Zoom, they will just come and somehow reroute something. So now that document camera works as a second camera on Zoom, and just basically you can write on a piece of paper and they will see whatever you have on a piece of paper or an image. And I think library had some for a checkout, but last time I checked, they had one at St. Ben's and one at St. John's. I know some people really liked it and they found it very, very, very helpful. So that was a pleasant surprise.
Carol, I use that draw function all the time myself when I'm making drawings that I then put like in PowerPoint to use for class. And I used to make drawings with a tablet, and for some reason now I can't, the tablet doesn't work as well, but if I just use the mouse and the draw function on like the whiteboard in Zoom or the my PowerPoint slides, I can draw much, much, much better. For some reason, the tablet, I can't control it gets too horizontal. I just don't know exactly what to say, but it's weird.
Yeah, the space thing, it doesn't match the screen. And so then I have to like keep in mind, and I have to sort of watch in both spaces, and yeah, it's very
But if I just hold my mouse and use the draw function right on the whiteboard or right on PowerPoint, I can write and draw. And I really like that draw function.
Yeah. No, that's worked a little bit better for me, and it for the basic kind of diagrams I'm doing, it's okay, but during an exam there's still no way for them to do it, so yeah.
Any other final questions? All right, I guess we'll put this, all the recordings up too, and then also the Canvas page has a link to all the trainings. So if you wanted to visit that, it'll have information about new quizzes, a video about new quizzes and so forth. But again, if you have any questions, let us know. And thanks for attending today.